Welcome to another episode of the New 151 Spotlight. The New 151 is a project that I've been doing with my friends Infinipede and Banana Meteor for over 6 years, going through and redesigning all Kanto Pokemon. Most recently, we completed the Eevee family, which you can see on our Tumblr page, new151.tumblr.com, along with all previous redesigns that we've done. We also share our designs in this video series, where we discuss the concept, the process, and how we feel about them in hindsight. Today we're going to discuss our concepts for Chansey, Tangela, Horsea Seadra, and Goldeen Seaking. Here's Banana Meteor to get us started discussing her concept for Chansey.
One of the things I wanted to change about the original Chansey is I feel like the color scheme doesn't fit well with the typing anymore, because it was great in Gen 1, but now with the advent of Fairy type, the pink on kind of like a pillowy, soft Pokemon really reads as a fairy, especially because Clefable and Wigglytuff both got retyped to that and have a similar design aesthetic to Chansey. So I wanted to make sure I kind of skewed more towards a normal type color scheme and make sure I also kept the egg inspiration, because I think that's really key to Chansey's design. I played into the kangaroo thing a little bit just because it was a new direction to go in, and I thought it made sense since one of Chansey's prominent features is the egg pouch, and there aren't many animals that have a pouch like that. There's not really a kangaroo Pokemon, so why not Chansey? I really liked that we changed the egg to look like an actual Pokemon egg, because it just gets weird when Pokemon now, of course, has this canonical design for how eggs look in their universe. All Pokemon have the same eggs. So in the original Chansey, it's this very plain, like, looks like an egg in our world, and it just brings up a lot of questions what kind of egg that is, retroactively looking at that design. So answering that question in the design itself made me feel better about it. I'm still happy with the color scheme, but the more I look at the ears, the more I'm like, maybe they should have been rounder like the body. Their thinness, just something about it doesn't feel like it gels with the design. Chansey's head frills on its actual design kind of replicate the shape of the body better, and the thinness of the ears pulls a little away from that and doesn't look entirely cohesive with the design. So I think I would honestly try to put the frills back and maybe just put them in motion, because it's this kind of this bouncy Pokemon that we made. I think that might look better, though at the same time that might be too similar to previous Chansey. So I don't know.
Next up, Infinipede will tell you about their concept for Tangela, which is actually one of our most popular redesigns, at least judging by how many likes and reblogs it has on Tumblr.
Tangela just looks like a ball of yarn. Like, I get that it's vines, and yeah, it looks like vines, knowing it's vines, but it also just kind of looks like a blue ball of yarn, and I wanted to make it more noticeably grass type. And I also think the boots on a humanoid Pokemon, where it's not inherently part of the Pokemon's main concept, like if it was boots Pokemon, it would make more sense if it had boots, like if it was a foot-based Pokemon. But it's just a ball of vines with boots, and that doesn't, that doesn't read as very, something that Pokemon might do nowadays, or something that really makes much sense. It's cute, I like it, but it doesn't make a whole ton of sense. We played around with the colors a lot. I think I had an additional layer of gradient on top of the green. It was like a yellow or something to kind of show the tumbleweed connection, but we ended up changing that to just blue and green, and I know there was some contention on even using the gradient, but looking at it now, I think even though gradients are used incredibly sparingly in Pokemon, I really think that it's the only way it could work as well as it does, just because of the sort of segmented nature of how much of each vine you see. I think having all these very clear delineations of color all over the body would be very busy and distracting. I still love it. There's maybe one thing I would change looking back on it. And that would be to sort of connect the vines on the bottom. Because right now it looks a little like a Little Marvin the Martian Man if you look too hard at it. Because you can kind of see, the legs are part of the main body, but with Tangela, it is part of the mystique that having just the ball of vines with eyes and then the legs. Whereas with this one, you can tell it's like a full body where it's just got a bunch of vines on it, which is not too bad. It's not a huge deal, but it's, you know, I might want to connect like that sort of big vine on our right-hand side around to the bottom.
Horsea and Seadra were my concepts. I didn't think Horsea needed to change much. Aside from being quite simple, it's very close to perfect as it is, so I just wanted to give it a new coat of paint and add a few details to bring it up to modern standards. I was specifically taking inspiration from the Japanese pygmy seahorse, which is both really tiny and really colorful. Seadra was a tough one though, because I'm not a big fan of Seadra, but I love Kingdra. Seadra just doesn't feel like a fully evolved Pokemon, while Kingdra does, and in these redesigns we're pretty much ignoring the existence of later-gen evolutions. I mean, we're designing Pokemon like Seadra as fully evolved Pokemon, the way that they were introduced, not designing them to evolve into something else later. So to me it made sense to use Kingdra's body shape as the basis for the redesign. I still wanted to keep a bunch of elements from Seadra though, like how pointy it is, its 2 back fins, and a hint of poison since it has the poison point ability. But because of the influence from Kingdra, I also made it a bit more royal with a crown of horns and a royal purple, which again plays into the poison element. I took inspiration from Shiho's seahorse, another seahorse native to Japanese waters, which can have these coral-like horns, especially on its head. The design evolved a ton throughout our process. We played a lot with how to do the horns, the fins, and the color scheme, and I really like where it ended up, but I also question whether I gave it too much of Kingdra and not enough of Seadra. It looks more like a Kingdra redesign, and that was sort of the point, but I don't know, maybe I took it too far. Still love Horsea though, that one turned out great. And closing things off for today, here's Infinipede again talking about their concept for Goldeen and Seaking.
As with a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon designs, this looks too much like the animal it's supposed to be, or the evolution looks too much like the previous Pokemon. With Goldeen, I think a big part of it was I did not love the lips. Like, I get that fish, they look like they're doing little kissies all the time. I work at a fish store, but it looks very awkward, and Goldeen's sort of feminine look. I don't love Pokemon that look very gendered when they're just like an animal, especially with something like Goldfish, where they're not gendered looking animals. You can't tell the difference easily. With Seaking, it was, again, more along the lines of Seaking's just kind of bland. Seaking's just a fancy goldfish with a horn. So I brought in carp influences for Goldeen with like the little barbells, made the fins a little wavier. Seaking, obviously there's the whole connection to the Aranda as well as the lionfish with the hood and the barbells and the pointiness of some of the fins. I really like the final product, but I think if I had gone back, I would have changed Goldeen's tail and fins a bit, or at least given it a more Seaking-shaped body. I think as it is, it looks too much like Finneon. It got mentioned on the stream, and someone was like, oh yeah, it's got Finneon's tails, and now I can't unsee that it's just like a Finneon relative. And I really wish I had done something like that. I had done it differently, but it is what it is now.
And that's it. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this batch of redesigns. Once again, you can see all of our designs up to Flareon on our Tumblr page right now, and you can also join our monthly streams where we develop our concepts from sketch to final design. The next stream is scheduled for June 11th, and we'll be redesigning Ammonite and Amistar, and maybe Kabuto and Kabutops at the same time. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of the Libras who support my channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships, especially luxury patron Ethan from Chicago. I'll see you in the next chapter.